In this video, I'm going to share why I don't have a very simple two-asset portfolio. I want to be able to do some of those videos that get millions of views and thumbs up about a simple retirement portfolio or retirement savings portfolio or saving for retirement, where all you have to do is own these 2 mutual funds or these 3 or 4 mutual funds that are only invested in stocks and bonds. And sometimes there may even be a 6 or 7 asset portfolio that has various types of stocks and bonds, but they're still only stocks and bonds. No more. Been there and done that. So in this video, I'm going to share with you why I don't do that anymore, how I learned to not do it anymore, and why I don't do it anymore specifically. The first reason I don't just invest in a simple stock and bond portfolio anymore is because the data that I use to research my portfolio structure goes back over 50 years. It shows that portfolios that have 60% stocks and 40% bonds have not performed as well as portfolios that can rotate into other asset classes. Now, this will make more sense as you listen to the rest of this video, and you'll know why this is the case. But period, I invest a strategy based on historical data. Now, we know, as I've talked about in other videos, we know historical data is just that. It's historical data, and whatever happened in the past is not going to happen going forward. But if we, number one, look at really long time frames, we can look at various economic environments, and that gives us more reliable data to make decisions going forward. And 2, if we accept that the future will not be exactly as the past was, we know there will be variations and we plan for that, then yes, it makes sense to use past performance data to make investment decisions to move forward. And the data that I've used shows that portfolios that were able to move into other asset classes, such as gold, such as other commodities, such as real estate, such as cash when it makes sense, have outperformed that 60-40 bond portfolio. I'll go into a lot more detail about this in my video called Allocate Smartly Review, so take a look at that if this interests you. But first, watch the rest of this video because I want to say some things that will make a lot more sense, and I really want you to see something that I've got on my website. The next reason I don't own just a stock and bond portfolio is because sometimes stocks and bonds are correlated. That means they just move in the same direction as opposed to moving in opposite directions, which is one of the main reasons we hold bonds, especially when interest rates are low, because when stocks go down, safe or treasury bonds usually go up. That's been kind of the game plan, the whole plan with strategic investing. The whole retirement saving investing deal has been around bonds going up when stocks do in fact go down in the occasional bear market. But sometimes that doesn't happen. In fact, stocks and bonds have been correlated, meaning they've moved together more often than they've moved in opposite directions. I did an entire video about this with the data. You can check that out if you don't believe me, and or if you didn't experience when stocks and bonds moved down together not that long ago. The third reason that I don't invest in just a stock and bond portfolio is because there are assets that are not publicly traded securities that really make a lot of sense for me to own. That is real estate rentals and or small business. There are a lot of different things that you can do with your money besides just buy mutual funds, and those things can actually have a bigger impact on your ability to accumulate wealth, both from a tax saving standpoint and from an investment return and a risk management standpoint, not to mention an inflation standpoint. The next reason I don't own just a stock and bond portfolio is that different asset classes perform differently during different time frames. I'm going to take you to my website and show you this investing quilt so that you can see for yourself. And I want to mention that Novell Investor put together this data and this chart and allowed me to put it on my website. So you can see from looking at this chart that in different years, different assets perform differently. and performed better than just stocks and bonds. Now, I do want to point out, though, that over the time frame that's being reviewed here, and that's 2008 through 2022, large cap stocks did perform the best. But remember, as I frequently say here on my channel, it depends on the economic environment as to which asset class will perform the best. So that won't always be the case over a time frame like this. Now, the other thing I want to mention is that we can see that, for example, in 2010, REITs performed really well. They were the top performer with a 28% return, while large cap stocks had a 15% return. Then in 2012, REITs had an almost 20% return, whereas large cap stocks had a 16% return. Now, some of these years, for example, in 2013, small cap stocks had almost a 39% return, and large cap stocks had a 32% return. So they were great performers in those years, but many years there were other asset classes that performed better. I do want to point out that I love to look at years. It gives me structure in the data that I'm looking at, and I can remember, oh yeah, that was the year of the bad bear market, or oh yeah, that was the year that interest rates were really high. But we really need to think also in terms of the highest point of an investment. What was the top amount that our investment reached, and how far did it fall from there? And that gives us our drawdown, and that's what we really, really want to use for analyzing investment data. But I like to look at things, like I said, in years, because it creates some structure around it for me, and that's how the information is typically presented when we look at information online or in brochures and that type of thing. I also want to point out that this chart does not have gold in it, and it does not have commodities on it. So those assets may have outperformed in these years as well. There are other investing quilts that have that information, but I don't have the legal right to show that in my video. But if you simply Google investing quilt, you'll be able to look at some quilts that come up that have gold in them and have other asset classes in them. And I really think that that would be a useful little quick exercise. That's what I wanted to share with you in this video. Remember, retire certain.